The fallout over the axing of comedian Jimmy Kimmel's late night show has dominated discussion in the US this morning, 3 days out from a massive memorial to honour Charlie Kirk. Let's go live to Peter Stefanovic at Charlie Kirk's Turning Point HQ in Arizona. Pete, good to see you again. Both the current and a former president have weighed into this debate.
Yeah, and the background to all of this, Kenny, good morning to you again, is that the mourning and the grieving process is still very much happening throughout the United States, but it really has been centred in parts of Utah, obviously, and parts of Phoenix here in Arizona as well, at the front of Turning Point HQ, where people are still continuing to file in, hundreds of them throughout the day, leaving their flowers, leaving tributes, saying their prayers. It's still a very emotional period. But the discussion has certainly moved towards this very strong debate about freedom of speech, which kicked up a gear yesterday after Jimmy Kimmel's late night talk show, comedy show was shelved indefinitely, maybe forever, because of comments that he made a couple of nights ago about Charlie Kirk's shooter, in which Jimmy Kimmel joked or said that he was a MAGA supporter, which is not only incorrect, but it also managed to upset and offend more than half the country, while, as I mentioned, it is still grieving. So you've got one side saying, well, freedom of speech should allow Jimmy Kimmel to say what he wants, right? And the other group is saying, well, yes, that's true, but then his bosses or the company who owns the network has a right to sack him. So that's part of where that discussion is right now. And Donald Trump was asked about this at Chequers a little earlier today, and this is his response.
Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you know, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
So there's still no comment. There's been no reaction from Jimmy Kimmel yet, but most of the reaction has come from Democrat leaders today. So you mentioned former president there in your intro, Kenny. Well, that's been driven by Barack Obama, who issued a statement a little earlier today. He posted on X, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators that it doesn't like. He went on to say this is precisely the kind of government coercion that the First Amendment was designed to prevent, and media companies need to start standing up rather than capitulating to it. So that's the former leader of the Democrats, the former President Obama, someone who sees himself as the next leader of the Democrats, perhaps a Democrat contender for the White House in years to come, is the current Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, who had similar remarks to say on social media this morning. So he posted on X, buying and controlling media platforms, firing commentators, cancelling shows. These aren't coincidences. It's coordinated and it's dangerous, he said. The GOP doesn't believe in free speech. They are censoring you in real time. We're going to have more reaction on that coming up in just a moment, but I just want to get to Charlie Kirk's memorial. It's 3 days away. It's on Sunday local time, Monday morning Australian time, and you've got so many people here 8 days on, as I mentioned, who are continuing to leave flowers and lay their tributes here. And I managed to speak to a couple of people last hour to see what was on their mind as they were here, and this is what they told me.
Just last week, a great American, Charlie Kirk, was heinously assassinated for speaking his mind. He was a great young man, incredible future. Some people said he might be president someday. I told him, I said, Charlie, I think you have a good shot someday at being president.
I don't know what country this is I'm living in right now. You know, how do you do this to a father and a husband and a man of God? I mean, it just really just breaks my heart.
There's a lot of people who bash Charlie and want to make up the stories about what Charlie is. They don't know him. They never did. Charlie was very respectful with everybody. He wanted conversations. He wanted to show that there is possible for peace within everybody.
It's touching. I don't know of anyone since JFK, Martin Luther King, RFK Jr. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Well, I was little when JFK died, but this is so moving. It's given me so much courage.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that actually. That was Donald Trump a little earlier, who was asked about his friend Charlie Kirk again today, and he mentioned that they'd had discussions in the past about one day Charlie Kirk potentially running for president. Well, someone who might know a bit more on that is Alex Bruesewitz, who's a friend of Charlie Kirk and also a Trump advisor as well. Alex, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Do you think he would have wanted to be president?
I don't know if he would have ever disclosed that
He didn't
himself,
say that to you?
But, you know, we all saw it. We all saw it. We all recognized that that was his path, and that's why he was so... there's so many different reasons he was so special to all of us, but we saw greatness in him, and, you know, he helped bring out greatness in all of us. And he really just had such a unique characteristic about him. But he was a leader of men, and it would have undoubtedly been in his future to become the next become a president one day.
And so now you've got the news this morning that his wife will be running Turning Point.
Yeah, Erica is incredible. She's one of the strongest women I've ever met in my entire life. I just got in late last night. I walked in here this morning. I gave Erica a big hug. You know, has been dealing with so much, but she recognizes that Charlie is now with our Lord and Savior in heaven, and you know, she's now going to keep his legacy alive and keep moving forward, just as he would want her to do. And she's the perfect person to continue to run it, and she's going to have all of our help, all of our support, anything that we can do to help her. We're going to be there for her.
And how much of a political force do you think she could be? And would the White House be? Is that too early to say that?
I think less about political. I think more about spiritual. I think, you know, we're no longer in a political battle. We're in a spiritual battle, and Charlie recognized that, and that's why, you know, he was out there preaching the truth. You know, he's preaching the message of Jesus Christ, and because it's not Republican versus Democrat anymore. We have good versus evil, humanity versus insanity. And I think that Turning Point recognizes that, and Erica has an incredible heart. She is a true believer in God, and I think that's going to be the message that she takes forward, that the entire nation needs to hear. You're seeing what's happening now. This memorial is beautiful, but what's even more beautiful, in my opinion, is just on Sunday night and Sunday, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who haven't been to church, you know, in the last 10 years, they're going to church again. They're getting baptized. They're opening their Bible, and I think that's what our nation needs. We need a revival, and you know, it's unfortunate that Charlie can't see this on earth, but I know he's looking down on us, really excited by what's happening.
Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. First of all, what did you make of his comments? And then we'll get to the debate.
I think his comments were disgraceful. You know, he claims to be a comedian, but I've never heard this guy tell a joke in my life. And then the Democrats are saying, well, Jimmy Kimmel's getting fired for a joke. That is not true. Out of his comments, what was supposed to be the punchline? What was supposed to be the humorous part? He just straight up lied about Charlie Kirk. He said Charlie Kirk's assassin was a MAGA guy. He wasn't a MAGA guy. He was a far leftist who was in love with transgender people. It was a total lefty. He was a foot soldier of the Democrat Party, and he just killed my friend. Jimmy knew that, but he said the other thing anyway. And so he got held accountable. And this isn't cancel culture. This is called consequence culture. It isn't censorship. It's accountability. And so, you know, I'm so, you know, outraged that he's not pretending to be the victim here. He insulted the victim. He lied about the victim, and that the victim is Charlie Kirk.
Okay, let's get to the other side of that argument. And you know, it should be said too that Jimmy Kimmel is no supporter of Donald Trump. I mean, there's been constant attacks in the past and constant jokes. But on the other side of the argument about freedom of speech is that isn't that Jimmy Kimmel's right to say what he wants under the banner of freedom of speech?
Sure, but he doesn't have the right to say it on ABC. He put ABC in jeopardy. You know, you had all these different affiliate networks saying that we're not going to air Jimmy Kimmel's show. It's going to lose out on marketing revenue, advertising revenue. Why? Because these affiliate networks wanted to do the right thing. You had Nexstar that came out and said we're not going to air it, and that's 32 networks. You had Sinclair, that's even more. And so he put ABC in a bad spot. And his show already sucked, by the way. He barely got 300,000 viewers. Nobody liked this guy. He peaked in 2005 when he wore blackface on television. He hasn't been popular since. And so ABC made a smart business move by getting him off the air, and now everybody's acting like he's some sort of martyr. Charlie's the martyr. Jimmy Kimmel's a disgraceful liar, and he's being held accountable for his actions.
Just finally, let's talk about Turning Point USA. I know that numbers have been boosted dramatically since Charlie Kirk's death. We just had Joel from Turning Point Australia who mentioned there's been increased interest in Australia. Turning Point. What can you say about about the movement.
Yeah, well, Charlie's movement wasn't just confined by our borders. You know, he reached the entire world. I was just with Charlie in South Korea 11 days ago as he was giving a speech, and thousands of young Koreans who were praying over him, singing, you know, songs about Jesus, and it was really a powerful moment. But Charlie has influenced people all over the world, and there's been fun for me for the last 9 months. I've been traveling. I've been in South America, Latin America, Asia, Europe, and I keep meeting these Charlie Kirk types, these people who are podcasters that turn conservative activists, and they're all downstream of Charlie. And Charlie has this influence that just transcended anything within our country. And I'm so excited that his numbers are growing big time here. Tyler Boyer, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Turning Point, he's been with Charlie since 2014. Justin Strife, these guys are going to make sure that our organization only grows from here, and obviously Erica Kirk at the helm. This movement is only just begun, and Charlie Kirk's legacy is going to live long on into the future.
All right, Alex, you've been generous with your time. Thank you so much today, and we'll see you again. Yeah, so there you go, Kenny. So, I mean, the former head of Turning Point, if you like, may no longer be with us, but the movement itself, it certainly will continue.
Yeah, certainly. Pete, thanks so much. We'll check in with you soon.